For the last 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 years of your life, your whole identity has been wrapped up in your marriage. You are her husband. You're the father, the provider, the protector. You are the man in this relationship, in this marriage, and you have sacrificed so much, so many other pieces of your identity you've had to set aside in order to be the best husband, father, partner, protector that you can be. And then she asked for a divorce. And now you have to reckon with this. Who the hell am I now? It's not just the grief. It's not just the lost dreams, the lost future, the lost partner, the person that you love. It's also having to reckon with, who am I now? If I'm not her husband, who am I? What do I like? What do I want? If I don't have to think about these other people, if I don't have to think about her or the family, like, what do I want for me moving forward? That's a question that you might have no idea how to answer because you haven't thought that way in 30 years or 40 years. Wrestling with this lost identity is a major challenge for most of my clients. But the thing that's so fascinating about it, you guys, is that lost sense of identity, it's not actually about the marriage. It seems like it is, but that lack of a really strong sense of who I am, what I want, and really like what I'm doing here on earth, that goes back so much further than just this divorce. So in this video, we're going to talk about where those identity issues really stem from. And when I'm talking about identity, I'm also talking about self-esteem, self-confidence. I want you to develop, and what I work with all of my clients in my Better Beyond Divorce coaching program, so much of the work that we're doing is to help them develop this like felt sense, like at the core of your being, the sense of, yes, this is me. This is who I am. And when you have that felt sense, a couple of things flow from it. One, you're kind to yourself. No matter what happens, what mistakes you make, the obstacles that come up, you have a supportive inner dialogue. So that inner critic becomes an inner ally. It helps you. And whatever emotions come up, whatever challenging situation happens, and maybe you have to feel grief, maybe you have to feel shame and embarrassment, regret, resentment, anger, whatever it is, you can handle it because it's a feeling that you have, but you are not the feeling. There's a you that is experiencing all of this. I want you to get in touch with that sense of you, that felt sense of, this is who I am in the world. And nobody can take that from me. And it is not dependent on another person. I don't need her or anybody else to tell me who that is because I feel it. And it's something that comes from inside of me, and no one can take it away from me. And the truth is, we should all have this deep felt sense of who we are, developed throughout our childhood and adolescence. But for most of us in the modern world, that process gets interrupted. And I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail. But what happens is when that process is interrupted, we're left with a void, a hole, a sense of, I don't quite know who I am or where I fit or why I'm here, or even if I deserve to be here, even if I'm good enough to be here. And then I meet this woman, right? I meet somebody and she makes me feel amazing. She loves me. She's passionate about me. She wants to be with me and spend time with me. And she just thinks I'm so cool and so smart and so funny. And that person, for like maybe the first time in your whole life, helps you to feel like you matter, to feel like you're significant, and to feel like you belong here. And the brain decides, okay, well, it's not that I belong here, it's that I belong here with her. And she becomes like the stand-in for that deep-seated sense of self that you never were able to develop as a child and young adult. And when I work with my coaching clients in my Better Beyond Divorce coaching program, at this point I've worked with about, I think, 400 men in that program and about 500 total men going through separation and divorce. All of my clients come to me through videos like this, and they're going through a separation or divorce, and that's where we start. They're like, Rachel, I need to let go, and I don't know how, or I'm not ready to let go. Maybe I'm still holding on to the hope of reconciling, and how do I make that happen? Whatever stage of it they're at, we initially connect because they're going through this incredibly painful, disruptive life event in the transition of divorce. But then, as we start to dig in, well, we always start with two things. So we never start with the divorce. And if you're thinking about working with me and some part of your brain is like, well, I know I need to let go, but I'm not ready to join Better Beyond Divorce or to work with you because I'm not really ready to let go of hope. And a part of me is really, really hoping that maybe there's a chance to reconcile with her. That's okay. We don't even talk about letting go until step 3. because there's things we need to do first. With every single client, before we can get to making peace with the divorce and moving forward, or before we can figure out how to reconcile with your wife and make that a reality, whatever your goal is, before we can do it, we have to first help you regulate your nervous system. You've got to be able to feel big feelings and calm yourself down so that you're not just constantly getting like hijacked by your brain into a fight or flight or freeze response. If anxiety, anger, or overwhelm or depression are ruling your life right now, those are all signs that your nervous system is activated and you don't yet have the skill set to calm it down. So we do that first. And then the second thing we do is this identity work, which is what I'm talking about today. So what I've seen after working with so many men is we start with this idea of the divorce and that lost sense of who I am now that I'm no longer a husband or a father. You're still a father, but it feels different than being the father in the family unit. And a lot of men really struggle with that redefinition of what family is. And so most of the men I work with think that that's the identity work they need to do. But then we start exploring that sense of self, the who are you? Like, who are you really on the inside? And what we discover is that there's actually been a void there that's older than the divorce, that they didn't have a clear felt sense of who they were when they were 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old. It's actually been missing and the marriage has been filling in. What is supposed to happen for all of us if we're raised in a really healthy environment? Ideally, when we're very small, when we're children, babies, young children, we have parents and other adults around us who care about us and are emotionally attuned and sensitive. And so when something happens, when I'm a little kid and I fall down and I skin my knee, or a big dog barks in my face and scares me, and I get upset and I start crying, there's an adult there. And they say, oh my gosh, Rachel, like that was so scary. Look at that. Are you okay? Oh yes, look, you are okay. You're fine. I know that was so scary, but you're okay now. And now let's get on. Like let's go meet the dog and look, the dog isn't so scary. Or look, you can get up and play again. Right? And that adult's role is to help the child co-regulate. Because the baby doesn't know how to do that. The small child doesn't know how to do that. And so when they get upset, when they get hurt, when they get scared, there's supposed to be a grown-up there who's able to help them, like acknowledge what they're feeling and name it. Validate that, yeah, oh my gosh, that was hard, that was scary, that was upsetting. And then reassure them like, oh, and look, like you can handle it, you're fine, and off you go. And the child learns like bit by bit to go out and be brave and take chances. And if I fall down and I get hurt or I fail or I get scared or even I get attacked, like I can come back from that. I'm okay. And there's somebody always there who's supporting me in that process. And there's been a lot of research on this. If you want to dive into this, look up Dr. Susan Johnson's work on attachment. She wrote a beautiful book on attachment theory. There's been all kinds of studies that document this is what secure attachment is. If you're familiar with that avoidant, anxious attachment lingo, this is how a child develops secure attachment. An adult is there who teaches the child how to regulate their emotions so that they feel safe taking risks, so that they can go out in the world, they can explore, they can take chances, and if something goes wrong, they're still okay, right? There's a home base to come back to. But that's not where secure attachment ends. That's childhood. There's a transition period that has to happen between the child who is dependent on the adults in their life for that reassurance and support and the independent adult who can take care of themselves emotionally. And if you look at a lot of Native communities, traditional communities, the Aboriginals of Australia are the first that come to mind. A lot of them have cultural traditions that help young people make this transition. So like the Aboriginal walkabout, where a young man goes for, I think it's 2 years, right? He just goes out into the wilderness by himself and he has to survive. But he's not going out unprepared. His whole life, the adults in his life have been preparing him for that experience. They have been giving him the tools and the skills that he needs to survive. And they have been helping him and doing it with him. And then they send him out and now he goes and he does it for himself and he proves to himself that he can. Right? There's a lot of these coming of age traditions. If we look back through human history in different cultures, we don't have these anymore. We don't have this like symbolic or often very literal transition from childhood dependency to adult independence. And there's a lot of evidence and a lot of, it's more anecdotal, but a lot of people think that this is especially important for young men. Like this process of becoming truly independent from the family, from the tribe, able to really take care of and sustain themselves. But it's not about physical survival, you guys, and that's the part I want you to really hear and understand. It's about emotional resilience. Right? The walkabout isn't about staying alive. It's about becoming a resilient adult who can face challenges and handle them and move through them and not be broken by them. Right? That is what secure attachment is really about. It's securely attached to myself. It's a felt sense of this is who I am, and who I am is a capable, resilient, strong, confident human being who has every right in the world to exist on this planet and who can take care of themselves emotionally. Did you get that as a child? Did anyone teach you that or help you make that transition? Because I didn't. And none of the men that I work with got that. We didn't have that experience. And so you grow up without that. And in fact, what you learned in childhood is probably quite the opposite. When you were little, you probably didn't learn that somebody's going to be there and it's going to be okay if you get hurt and scared. You probably learned that you had to deal with it all by yourself and that you were going to get in trouble and put in time out or ignored, or that your parents couldn't handle it and it was too much for them. And there's so many different things that could have happened and that do happen. And maybe for some of you, it was even worse. Maybe there was outright abuse. Maybe there was severe childhood trauma. Maybe there was sexual abuse and sexual assault. You know, working with men over these years, I have heard so many stories, and it is so much more widespread. And I don't think anybody talks about it nearly enough, how much trauma, abuse, and sexual abuse that young men experience as boys. So not only did you not get this like nurturing environment where you learned that it was okay to try and risk and fail, and then this like beautiful transition experience that you were well prepared for into becoming an independent adult, you may have actually had to survive incredibly dangerous situations as a child. As a little kid, you might have had to take care of your little brothers and sisters when one of your parents left or died, or wasn't there to handle things, or maybe they were just overwhelmed financially. There's just so many different circumstances, you guys. So if you look back at your own childhood, look at the burdens that were put on you during a time when what you were supposed to be getting was a lot of emotional nurturing and support and assistance in making that transition from dependent to independent. And so what happens? We didn't get that. We were supposed to. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just what happened. And it's not even your parents' fault. Right? Because who did it for them? Were your grandparents able to? And if we look back in our recent history, like you guys, the amount of global conflicts, we are not that many generations out from world wars. And we're dealing with trauma passed down for generations that's impacting all of us in the way that we were raised. And so you didn't get these things for whatever reason. Not your parents' fault because they didn't get it either, but definitely not your fault because you were just a little kid. Right? And so you grow up and you haven't had that sense of like safety and comfort in a family, like really being held and emotionally supported. And nobody helped you transition that into yourself. So you grow up feeling insecure, like literally, like not safe. And that's what insecurity is, you guys. It's not just self-doubt. It's not just like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not hot enough. Right? It's a sense of like, maybe it's not okay for me to be here in this world. Like maybe it's not safe. Maybe it's just too dangerous. Like maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe it's all my fault that things are this bad. Right? It's much deeper, that sense of insecurity, than just a self-confidence issue. And so we grow up with that insecurity and we're trying to cope with it, and we do the best we can. Like maybe we work really hard and we're successful, and that's how we try to create security. Or maybe you make a lot of money and that creates security. Or maybe you drink a lot and that just numbs it and makes it go away. Or maybe you like get pulled into Candy Crush on your phone, or you watch a lot of YouTube videos. It doesn't really matter. Like we all do things to cope with this deep-seated felt sense of insecurity and uncertainty that stems from our childhood. And then you meet somebody, you meet your wife, your ex-wife, and things feel better, right? She steps in and fills that hole, and maybe she's the first person that really makes you feel seen and held and nurtured and safe, right? And so she becomes really deeply tied to that sense of security that's been missing all along. Then when she wants a divorce, what she's taking with her, what it feels like she's taking with her, is all of that security. But really, she was just filling a void. she wasn't, and she was filling the void from childhood. And what we all need, that like self-actualization, self-development process, is where we go from being dependent emotional beings to independent emotional adults. So if your ex-wife was filling the emotional void that your parents weren't able to fill, always just a stopgap. It was always a temporary fix. Right? She was stepping in and filling a need from your child self. But what you truly need, what all of us truly need, is to make that transition into that emotional independence. We all need our walkabout, right? We need to have that felt sense experience of, yes, I know who I am. I know what I like. I know what I care about. I know how to take care of myself. And not just physically, not just that I can eat every day or pay the electric bill at my house, but that I know how to take care of myself emotionally, regardless of what big challenge might come up in my life. That's what self-identity work is really, really about. And so when we think of identity in that way, divorce is actually an opportunity, because your wife, when she filled that like identity gap for you, it was just up through that childhood dependency part. Right? This is an opportunity for you now to step into the adult independence. And what's beautiful about it is when you learn to make that transition and you do your adult version of the walkabout, which you don't have to go on some massive quest. What you have to do is sit down and reckon with your own insecurity. You have to learn how to be kind to yourself on the inside. You have to learn how to regulate your emotions, how to regulate your nervous system, and how to calmly face challenges as they arrive. And you have to find a connected sense of yourself as the observer of your experience and not be so quickly hijacked or influenced by everything that you feel or every thought that comes through your head. And those things are skills. They are tangible skills that we can practice. This is what I do in my Better Beyond Divorce coaching program. I teach my clients these skills. They're not hard, you guys. They are simple skills. They just take practice, like any skill. If you had been taught them as a child, they would be second nature to you, but you weren't. So now you have to learn them as an adult. And that's hard because you have a lot of old patterns and they're going to feel strange at first. But these are just skills. And when you practice them, you can step into that independent emotional reality as an adult. And when you do that, everything starts to change, right? Because now you get to choose the kind of life that you want. You get to choose the experiences that you want. You're no longer boxed in by all of your fears or all of the beliefs about who you are or how you have to be in the world. Right? What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to spend your days? How do you want to spend your time? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? What kind of relationships do you want to have? Your personality does not hinder you from any of those things. Neither does your intelligence or your innate capability. I can tell you right now, you are good enough. You are smart enough, you are strong enough to create any kind of life that you want. But right now you are being boxed in by all of these fears and all of these limiting beliefs about who you are, and they are older than your divorce, and they have nothing to do with your ex-wife except that she helped you forget about them for a while and imagine that you could be somebody different. They have everything to do with that unhealed. It's not even unhealed childhood wounds, you guys. It's like an arrested growing up. Like you didn't get to finish growing up. You didn't make that transition from dependent child into independent emotional adult. That's the transition that we make in Better Beyond Divorce. And when you do, then you are free not only to build the kind of life that you want, but the kind of relationships that you want. Because now you're not in a relationship because you need it or because you have to have the relationship to prove that you're a certain kind of person or a certain kind of man. Now you get to have relationships just because it's interesting and it's fun and it feels good to be connected and intimate with another human being. And you get to actually choose a relationship based on what you want and shared values and shared dreams, and a relationship where you lift each other up and help each other grow, instead of a relationship where you just prove to each other that you're like just enough and just the right ways to meet those childhood gaps. I just created a quiz to help you figure out where you are in this process of going from dependent child in this emotional dependency to independent emotional adult. It's my men's divorce recovery quiz, and it's going to help you gauge where are you on that scale from feeling just broken down and lost sense of identity from this divorce to feeling really whole and confident and secure within yourself. It's going to break it down into 6 different areas. And what I love about this quiz is it gives you a roadmap for where your work is. It's going to show you which areas you need to focus on first. And it's also going to give you direction for how to do that work. So go ahead, the link is in the video description below. Go ahead and click that link to the free quiz. It's totally free. You don't have to pay for anything. There's no like fill it all out and then you have to pay money at the end. It's just a totally free quiz. And it's going to break down for you where you're at with the emotional regulation work, the self-confidence and identity work. There's a forgiveness process. There's a sense of taking ownership of the future. Everything we've been talking about in this video today, it's going to break it down into 6 specific areas, show you where you're at in each one and what step to take next. So please go take that quiz. At the end, if you have any questions or you're not sure where to go from there, there's an opportunity to apply for a free call with me. So please go take the quiz, and then if you want my input on it or my suggestions about where to go from there, just fill out the application for the call, and myself or someone on my team will reach out and we'll make sure that we get you moving in the right direction. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and take the quiz. Let's find out where you are, because again, this process of moving from that childlike dependency into this adult wholeness, this emotional independency, it's just a matter of skill building. It's just a process. It's a step-by-step process of building the right skills. So let's get you taking the next step and start building those skills now so that you don't have to spend any more time in this dependency than you have to. That you can really step into that felt sense identity of who you really are after this divorce and outside of this marriage. All right, guys, take the quiz and I will see you on the other side.